Alright guys, welcome back to Formula 1 news and potentially more bad news for Lewis Hamilton after the first lap incident with Fernando Alonso that ended Hamilton's race very early on indeed. He may have indeed sustained from that collision engine and gearbox damage that might mean more penalties to come for Hamilton going through the second half of the season. That's going to restrict his chances even further of finally trying to get a win on the board, especially given their pace deficit to especially Red Bull in the race yesterday. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you are new as always, plenty to discuss today. First of all, I wanted to mention the driver lineup because lots on this happening right now. Firstly, the Piastri situation. So currently the contracts recognition board is going through all the legal stuff to determine whether Piastri can be a McLaren driver, if Alpine are entitled to any compensation because they say they invested however many million into Piastri's career and now he's decided to leave despite maybe there was a valid contract in place. Who really knows? They're going to decide. Probably he's going to end up at McLaren regardless. Obviously, that's their target to replace Daniel Ricciardo. The Alpine replacement is far from convincing though, as so of course we know Alonso's going to go to Aston Martin. Who replaces Alonso in the Alpine seat? Like, I guess the first implication would have been, okay, it's going to be Ricciardo, right? They do the swap around. That may well not be the case. Ricciardo has actually talked about maybe taking a bit of a sabbatical season, not competing next year. Also, Mick Schumacher has maybe been a potential name thrown in the ring of Alpine. Apparently, they're also considering Jack Doohan, who I believe won the Formula 2 sprint race on yesterday morning, right before the Formula 1 Grand Prix happens, for his first Grand Prix victory, or first, I guess, feature race victory, they call him, in Formula 2. So maybe they are trying to trade out one Australian in Piastri for another one in Doohan, so maybe that's a target for Alpine. There's other names as well that have been considered, because of course Gasly is also on the radar. Despite the talking points from Helmut Marko that Gasly would not be able to leave, it now seems that AlphaTauri are now considering alternatives. So as this article describes, Red Bull, and that's not Red Bull as in Red Bull Racing, of course it's going to be Verstappen Perez, but it's Red Bull as in AlphaTauri, the kind of sister team in a sense, that are showing interest in adding Colton Herta, current IndyCar driver, was linked actually to the McLaren Formula 1 project. That I imagine is not going to happen any longer because they want Piastri, but Herta, American driver, could maybe go to AlphaTauri in place of Gasly if Gasly was to join Ocon and Alpine. That's one of the possible scenarios right now. Gasly and Ocon don't get on particularly well, but to me that sounds like absolute fireworks. Ocon with anyone is fireworks, let alone a Frenchman that he doesn't particularly get on that well with at a French team. It sounds pretty fun to me, so I would kind of hope that Gasly and Ocon happens next season. We will see, and if it is the case that of course AlphaTauri need a driver, Herta could be that guy, but there's plenty of other names in the ring for the Alpine seat, so plenty still to occur there. This another big talking point of the day because after Audi confirmed their interest in coming in as a Formula 1 engine supplier at the very least from 2026, rumored to be partnering with Sauber to take over the Alfa Romeo current situation they have going on. Red Bull and Porsche were meant to be doing a partnership, right? This has been talked about for quite some time. Now apparently Red Bull are not so happy at the influence Porsche might have if they take over 50% of the Red Bull Racing company. And therefore this deal is dragging on and Red Bull actually might consider other options because I think the deadline is in about the middle of October for these organizations to come to an agreement, and if they cannot, then all of a sudden Porsche might not be in Formula 1 until at least 2027 if they can't make this arrangement happen by then. So I mean, yeah, and if this deal collapses, if this merger collapses, then Porsche's whole entry is potentially not going to happen any longer. Red Bull are now considering the possibility of maybe going back and teaming up with Honda again, because Honda, every time they leave Formula 1, the team they supply just immediately seems to dominate the next season as Red Bull have, so they might be looking to return, so therefore maybe the Red Bull powertrains thing comes to a swift end. It's a rather interesting situation, but yeah, apparently Honda even have a pretty good offer on the table as well, so Red Bull Porsche might not be the case, and if Porsche can't partner with Red Bull, then who do they partner with if anyone, right? Because Audi of course have already indicated their intent. Bit of an interesting one, plenty of news on that front, and even Fastest Pit Stop reckons that the deal is actually off as far as he's been told, and then maybe the Honda deal could still be a thing, so definitely stay tuned for that one. Let's dive then into what happened in the race yesterday. This of course was that first lap incident into Le Con between Hamilton and Alonso. Hamilton turned in Alonso. Alonso really couldn't do much about it. Hamilton gets serious damage to the underside of his car, and obviously by getting raised up massively into the air, came down pretty hard. He said himself that he felt like it kind of seriously hurt his back, and he thought he could have even broken his back, but still decided not to visit the medical team afterwards anyway, so can't have been that bad. But yeah, he does drop down here, and of course, into incidents like this can damage parts of the car, not just the, the flooring, the Venturi tunnels, the underside of it, this type of stuff, but also the actual components themselves, of course, which are very limited in number. So yeah, quite the incident really to see. You don't see this too often with cars flying up and crashing down like that. And well, Hamilton even said it nearly broke my back. I remember looking at the ground, I was pretty high up, grateful to still be alive and in good shape. Hamilton grateful as always. But yeah, and Alonso, they kind of made up to a certain degree. Not really though, they're still obviously, not exactly the best of friends, these two. And there were some statements made by Alonso during the race. Hamilton came back with some statements of his own after the race. They seem to have kind of eased things off a little bit. But of course, it doesn't exactly change the result of the race. Alonso got P5 after the whole Ferrari Leclerc, we don't need to talk about it again to rub more salt into the wounds of the Ferrari fans out there. But yes, rumours emerging that Hamilton may well have slight damage to his power unit sustained during the crash. That's the thing. You smash down like that, internal components could be damaged. And of course, Hamilton also tried to keep going, right? He tried to get back on track, hoping it was okay. But it turned out that within a few corners, it was quite clear that Hamilton didn't have the pace, more than likely because, the floor of the car was just not going to work properly. The engine maybe wasn't complying. And Hamilton still, though, made it around pretty much the entire lap into that kind of final curvy straight or whatever it's actually called. I forget the name of that kind of that section. I think it's called like Blanchimont or something, the corner that he stopped on. But and yeah, of course, he made it all the way around the track to that point. So maybe Hamilton, by doing that, could have damaged the engine a bit further than he might have done already. Now, of course, yes, if the engine is damaged to a certain extent, that will mean a grid penalty is in order. We just saw what happened here for Leclerc and Verstappen. They couldn't manage their, well, Leclerc already took one, but Verstappen was at his 3 power units. They decided, yeah, we've probably got to take a 4th, and given the power of that Red Bull car, it doesn't matter where he started or whatever strategy he was on, he would have won that race regardless. But of course, now Mercedes, one of their only advantages might have been that they could get away with only 3 power units this season. Now, this crash might mean that Hamilton has to take another one, and that's the thing with him making it around so far. He gets the fire extinguisher out to make sure that, try and cool it down and reduce any potential damage, but the damage may indeed still be there. Now, in fairness, we did already hear rumours a little bit ago that Mercedes might need to take a 4th engine anyway, just like Verstappen has done here at this race, of course. And even if there is minor damage, right, it feels kind of difficult to imagine that engine that was in that car of Hamilton's can last another, 8 races to the end of the year? Seems unlikely, and it probably would be in Mercedes' preference, really, to give Hamilton a new engine, run it on max power, effectively, just like they did at the end of last year, to at least give him a chance of trying to win a race this season, rather than trying to let him struggle on an engine that they're going to have to turn down the power mode of. That's just an idea, so I think they might have been looking to change it anyway, and probably will now as a result of this, but pretty much confirming maybe that a grid penalty is in order. The other thing, of course, is the gearbox, because we even saw that many times, even relatively small incidents, as this one arguably was, hits on the rear of the car can damage the gearbox, which is a pretty big deal. So yeah, apparently the gearbox took a pretty hard hit, and the gearbox carrier was cracked. There's an inspection going on to see if the internals are okay, and if they have to take another one, there won't be any penalty there, because I think you're allowed, 3 or 4 gearboxes. So we should be okay on the gearbox side for now, but still there might be another one down the line. It's not an ideal situation, of course, for Hamilton and Mercedes, of course. He evaded any punishment, right? I guess his punishment was that he was, DNF'd for the first time in a long time, and also he has these potential penalties on the horizon. So the FIA deems no reason to kind of go any further action after this first lap incident, where he didn't really leave Alonso any room. But what does this mean for the future races, right? And if it's already damaged, kind of beyond repair, then of course they would have to take a new engine next week in Zandvoort, which is obviously not the place you want to take a grid penalty, right? Especially given that, of course, you don't really know what you're going to get from Mercedes week in, week out. It's impossible to predict how good or bad that car is going to be. But yeah, the possibility of Hamilton fighting through the field at Zandvoort is a very difficult thing to imagine, because, DRS trains can be fully in effect in a circuit like that. So definitely not the track that they would like to take a grid penalty. That's the thing. That's the reason why Leclerc, Verstappen, all these other drivers took them at Spa, is because overtaking is much easier around that circuit than it is around Zandvoort, for example. There are overtaking opportunities, but it's far from easy to make it happen like it is around Spa, as it was proved, of course, this past weekend. The other alternative, of course, is Monza, but even there, it's not like Mercedes' straight line speed has been good this season at all, and that's pretty much all there is around Monza. So not exactly a good look for the Mercedes side. And of course, it's not just the fact that they might take penalties, but it's also the fact that their car was just not quick this past weekend. In fairness, Russell probably had more pace than, he had more pace than both of the Ferraris, in fairness, but were just so far off the Red Bulls, right, of especially Max Verstappen. But yes, apparently there were some bumps in the Stavlo corner, the first first part of that, and also Eau Rouge, that meant that the drivers or the teams had to raise the right height of the car beyond what they normally would, and apparently Red Bull could get away with it, which was definitely costing them some performance. Whether it was costing them that much performance, though, seems rather difficult to believe. And Hamilton, of course, loses his kind of point streak that now belongs to Max Verstappen and Fernando Alonso, the longest current point streaks here in Formula 1. But definitely tweet your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new as always, take care, and I'll see you next time.